Hi, and welcome to Nothing Conversations. We're just going to converse about nothing. Um, the first step, I just want to ask you, how did this apparent happening that did not happen to no one, to you?
How did it happen? I don't even know how I could talk about something that happened that didn't happen. I've often tried to think of it myself and can't really find words for it. I mean, it was just, it was like, it seemed like a process. It seemed like a journey. And leading up to the end, let's say, of that journey, it was like falling in love. I think I mentioned to you before about, like, it felt like a seduction. Like life was just seducing me and my heart was just opening up, and there was so much space and peace and love, and yet it was also normal. It was like, sort of, is this really happening? Am I just imagining this? Am I just getting romantic about life? I'm not really a big romantic though, so for me to talk of love and wonderful things like that, it's not really my character normally, so it's a new thing for me to talk in that way. And it was literally an opening up and a dropping of old stuff, neurosis. A lot of neurosis went, and just seeing that everything is just concepts. Everything that ever thought I knew and believed in is all mind, whatever mind is, but it's certainly all concepts and ideas which are man-made. It can't possibly be this, because they're just imaginings, they're just ideas and concepts, and that was just seen through. I don't even know what the time lapse was for that, but it was just like a seeing through it very quickly, like all the dominoes were falling down. And I think I was listening, it was on lockdown, and I was listening to Andreas. He was one of the first people that did Zooms. I think he was doing them every day in that big beginning of lockdown when everyone was in fear. And I was listening to him a lot, and that seeking energy was dissipating a little bit, quite a lot, going quite fast then. And so it was funny to be watching him and not want to get anything and not hanging on his every word. And then somehow the questions were being asked and it was as if I had the answers, and I was just typing all the time in the comments section, and thoughts were going on in my head were like, oh God, what will people think of you? They'll think you showing off, or and yeah, that was kind of, I don't know if that explains it very well, but that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. It's so indescribable. It's so
Mm,
hard to put into words because it's not, whatever you can think of in your mind is just mind stuff.
yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
so
And
whatever
it's
happens
all
in the
that we,
mind is like, okay, what I'm saying? It's almost like mindless stuff.
yeah, absolutely. Because how can a concept ever tell you what something is, really? It can't. It can describe things, but it can't know something. It can't experience something. So everything, it was realized everything's completely unknown. And that is so fresh and new and alive, because there was a complete deadness, except maybe the last 3 years in non-duality leading up to this thing that happened that didn't happen. Though it was dead, it was like coming out of death. And my whole life had been a lot of depression, and I couldn't really ever remember being happy, to be honest. And it was just changing so rapidly. Um, and and then just this sudden sort of dropping away of everything, like, this is it, that's, oh my God, is that it? could it be that simple and ordinary as that? Just this, just like a container of nothing. Everything just disintegrates into nothing. No matter what it is, it just falls apart all the time. Just nothing, nothing, nothing. And how can it feel so real and yet so unreal? How can it feel 100% real and 100% not real? And it was so astonishing, and yet at the same time it was so like, that's so easy and ordinary. It is that paradox, isn't it, all the time, of amazing and ordinary, extraordinary and ordinary, I suppose.
Yeah, it's I get the it's so hard to describe, but it's almost kind of like, this is it.
Yeah,
Wow, this is it. And then there's like, oh, this is it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like a big surprise and a bit of a disappointment at the same time. Like, this is
yeah,
it. And then there's
yeah,
the constant, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it.
yeah.
And I can totally relate to, when Tony said carpeting, because at that moment I was just like, everything was just in perfect order. In
Mm,
perfect order. You look around, you're like, wow. Just this wowness of everything that's arising, and nothing is, and there's no separation, no gaps, no nothing. It's
yeah,
it's like the perfect high that's
yeah,
permanent
yeah, absolutely. And
for no one.
it's for no one, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like winning the lottery of life. It was like winning what I'd always wanted but didn't know.
I always say that too. I always say it's like winning the biggest lottery and you get nothing for no one.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And then
And
there
then,
were there were moments I was like, how is this deserved? Like it's like a lottery.
absolutely, yeah. How is this deserved? There is that in it as well, isn't there? I get that completely. It's like, how could I be that lucky, sort of thing? Yet no one is lucky, but there is that sort of something there of that.
Yeah.
And then almost at the same time, or quite soon after, there was quite a lot of disappointment, and I really didn't know what that was about, because it was still there. I'd still won the lottery. It was still absolutely
Mm.
just this, and empty. The emptiness was just beautiful emptiness. Emptiness sounds negative, but it's a beautiful emptiness. It's a peace beyond understanding, as that's
Yeah,
often.
that's what it is. It's just
Yeah,
this solid peacefulness that's unshakable, that is
mm,
beyond understanding.
yeah,
Beyond understanding, and in that peace that cannot be understood or shook. um, Crying arises, pain arises, and that's okay, because they just, that's, it's almost like those things, like, pain,
yeah.
crying is movable.
Mm.
But oh, it's hard to describe. See, I'm out of words again.
I know, and that's it. You try and go into it, and you think you're going to really, I'm going to really describe it this time, and then it just stops because it can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But even when the pain, I do suffer with quite a lot of illness, and even when it is pain, and sometimes it's not okay to be painful. Do you understand? And that, even that is kind of held in this. It's not all magical here anyway. It's not all magical loveliness floating around. When it's horrible, it's horrible. It's pain is pain, that doesn't go away. In fact, I'd say you feel things more because you're so wide open, there's no filters. It's
That's
like,
what it is. There's no
yeah,
filters. I was my aunt passed away a couple of months ago, and then the funeral was via Zoom. My mom's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite aunts, And then my mom started crying, and crying happened, and I was sobbing. I've never done that before. I've always
Mm,
stayed kind of like,
mm.
okay, I'll smile. Yeah, there's
Be
no
the
more
man.
filters. Be the man,
Mm,
or whatever
yeah,
that means.
yeah. Be strong.
Be
Yeah, yeah,
strong. But yeah,
yeah.
now it's like, or watching movies.
Mm.
The only movies that could make me cry before were dog movies. When a dog dies.
Yeah, oh God, the animal ones. I'm so like that with animals.
Now it's anything. Anything.
Yeah,
Give me a tear jerker, anything. Or even
yeah,
little things, or
yeah.
walking down the street, and then you see a fall. I'm like, this is the first time I'm seeing fall. Of course I cry. I'm like, this is
Mm.
fall. Or snow. I'm like, wow, this is snow. So there's a wonderment, a childlike innocence to everything that's happening,
Yes,
because there's
yes,
no narrative, there's no old, what do you call it, narrator that's
yeah,
narrating it.
yeah,
It's just like a snow is a snow. Or I've shared this example before. When it's cold, I used to hate cold. I'm one of those people that moves to a warm place so I can avoid the -40 weather or the -20
yeah.
weather.
I,
So
I, yeah, hate cold, hate
So
cold.
I was walking down the street, -20, and all of a sudden it was kind of like, I'm like, oh, it's just cold. I didn't stay long, but it was actually beautiful. It's crisp and it's
Mm,
nice.
mm,
It's cold is okay, but I
mm.
didn't have that story of, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be, why what am I doing here? None of that. It's just, this is cold.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I was trying not to laugh then when you were saying about crying over, uh, was it the death of your
My aunt.
grand? Because the dog's panting. Every time there's a gap, I can hear your little doggy panting, and it's not.
Oh!
It was really like, I just thought, you might have seen my face starting to crack because all I could do is. And it's so
He's
cute.
my cocker spaniel. He is
Oh,
15 years old, so
oh.
he's on his way,
You
and
can tell he's old by his pants. That might
yeah,
sound really funny, but I just got when I was hearing his panting, I could almost get his character. It
yeah,
was so like that old dog sort of thing,
yeah.
and it made me laugh. It's nice, yeah, really nice, yeah. Sorry, that
Oh,
distracted
no
me.
worries, no worries.
But, yeah, and there were loads of things popping up when you were talking about that as well, because it's funny how this is different for everyone, I think. And hearing, and there are some things you say about what's happened with you that I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then there are other things that when you say about crying, for me, it's like I never used to be able to, it's not so much crying, but I never used to be able to watch horror movies or scary things. I mean, I totally avoided them because they'd just stir up they'd trigger me, they'd trigger neurosis, they'd trigger fear. Um, and then this happened, I just binged on the most scariest things I could, I just couldn't get enough of like people chopping up bodies and things that I'd never watched before, horror movies, anything like that. And it's like so exciting, to be able to not be scared of those things, to be able to just enjoy when other people are going on about this horror movie or that horror movie. And I felt such a prude, like, oh, I don't watch things like that. And it felt nice, almost like a sort of male energy coming through, a bit like yours sounds a bit like female energy being released, and mine felt very much like male strength, coming through, and the confidence that's coming up as well. I'd never be able to speak on something like this normally, and speaking up in talks and things has become so easy, because I used to, every time I'd speak, there was like things going on in my head going, shut up, you're stupid, don't speak, and then the first time I'd started posting maybe on Facebook some writing or poems that had come up about this, and I got some stick, from non-dual police. I mean, and it was like, oh, woo, and it shut me down at the beginning, and then as this, just to get stronger. I know people don't say it gets deeper and stronger, but I'm sorry, it does seem like that here. It doesn't matter anymore. I just care less and less what people think, and I never ever thought I'd be able to say that, because this character has always been very worried about how people see me and what they think of me, but that is just totally going. I don't know if you experience anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. This character is a bit of an introvert. Although, what I was saying, the character's role has always been in front of people. I don't know how that happens. Whether DJing or being a teacher or something like
Yeah.
that, it's just always in front of people.
Yeah.
And then after I stepped down as a teacher, a few years ago, I never thought I would do anything like this again. Never would have thought. So I just, with this apparent experience, of whatever you might want to call this, there's almost kind of like a passion to, or not, to some people, to share it. So I was sharing on Twitter, and I was just kind of like writing some non-dualistic. The first thing that I did is I just did quotes from like Jim or Tony, posted it. And then I started writing my own and then when I started writing my own, I think someone noticed and asked to interview me. Thank you for watching that interview anyway. So that was my first interview about non-duality. And that's basically how I got into this again.
Yeah, I love your interviews, Emerson. They're fantastic. They really helped me so much to hear someone talk normally about this, not as a host or a question answer thing, but just talk. That's what I'm loving, this just human beings talking about this without claiming that they are somewhere or something, or anyway, sorry, I interrupted you there. Sorry.
No. Just a second, and I'm just going to let my dog out because he wants to. He's restless. Just a second, I'm just going to pause it.
He's your master,
Yeah.
The animals are always you're always a slave to them.
That's right. I love it though. So those interviews got me started, and then there's a couple more somewhere. I don't know where they are. I didn't really pay attention anymore. So there was this, the character had almost like a. This is hard to admit, but the character was had insecurities, not wanting to be seen, but also introverted at the same time. But now there's no care for that. There's people that someone wrote me. I think I told you about this. If there's no Emerson, then you should kill yourself.
Yeah, I know. It's dramatic, isn't it? I'd like to meet that one.
And then I just wrote down, "Thank you very much for your comment." That's
And what can you say? Something
Yeah.
It's.
Oh no, that's.
Yeah, people. I mean, I had people saying, when Tony and Jim speak, there's no one there, but when you do, there's someone there. Like, so what? I'm not claiming to be anything. I'm not claiming to be here, there, or anywhere. This me, know me. Who cares? That's one thing that just drops with the seeking. It's like you're just going for this, know me, know me, know me. And all of a sudden it's like, who gives a, what does it even mean, know me, know me? But I did have to go, I felt it just felt right to go to Tony and Jim's boot camp, as I call it, where I'm just like hit over the head all the time with know me.
Yeah. I think I shared this story with you, but I used to listen to Jim and Tony, and I used to get so frustrated because there's a getting it, but it's like, like, when will I get this? When will I get this? But I didn't know that the character will never get it. So
Yeah,
there's a
absolutely.
frustration that was happening. And I think what happened was, this, I've shared this story so many times now, DJing, I was DJing, and after 4 hours DJing, such a non-event. Do you know what I'm saying? There's no
Mm,
angels or trumpets or anything like that, or no
mm,
meditation for 6 hours or something.
mm,
And then all of a sudden, it's like spontaneous boom. It was like, wow, what the hell? And I didn't even really speak about it for quite a while.
mm,
I was just in bewilderment. It was just kind of like,
mm,
spent time just doing nothing,
mm.
and just kind of like kicking myself, just so happy. I'm like, oh wow, this is so freaking epic, but it's so normal, so
Yeah, absolutely.
ordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just when I mean I wouldn't know how to. I'm only just starting to find my own words and my own voice with it, because when all the concepts and everything that I thought I was just dropped away, I wouldn't even know how to put into words, and I couldn't even use Tony's or Jim's words. There seem to be speakers that can speak, and I'd listened to a lot of that, but I couldn't. That's not how I could describe it. So I think those pointings are really, really beautiful, and they're the best, the nearest things that you can get to this, the best ones. Some of them, but I think one of the disappointments is when this is seen and it is so ordinary and it's always been like this. It's not something new, although it does feel fresh and new. But it's like, oh my God, it's always just been.
It's always been here. It's
Yeah,
always been like this.
it's always been empty. It's just there's this great big overlay of concepts and ideas that you've been taught from growing up since a child. Taught what you are, who you are, and sort of crammed into this flesh and bone body sack, and learn how to be that. And how can you squeeze all of what you are into that, all of this into that? It's just crazy. But I couldn't find words, and that was, one of the disappointments was that, oh God, you can't do anything with this. It's totally useless. It's like the biggest achievement ever that I feel
But
anyone
for
could
no
ever.
one.
No one.
Yeah.
And it has no use. It's not even that I felt, oh, I can talk about it, or I can be a Jim or a Tony. There wasn't any of that. It was like it's just this, and it doesn't. Yeah, just that really. It's not going to have any use in the world, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
worldly way, it's not
No.
some. Yeah.
But what compels you to talk about this now?
Well, this has just started happening really, in the last probably few weeks. I feel like I'm finding my voice, and I find it difficult now to go to talks, although I do sometimes, and I love all the speakers. There's no one, not even the gurus. I don't want to say anything bad about them, because everyone I've had and left has been part of this. The things I've created in my imagination and then met them, and it's been a wonderful journey, seemingly, apparently. But I can't very easily go to talks where it's question and answer anymore. And that was a great loss for me, because I was a 24/7 person. I'd listen to this in my sleep and wake up with it. I mean, I just dropped
Oh,
my
me
life.
too.
Yeah, I dropped everything in life, everything, and just this was it. This was what I wanted, totally, and I was totally devoted as a person. And then now, that's, to lose that as well. I even had to lose non-duality. I even couldn't. I just couldn't go to talks anymore. Just didn't feel right. And it's all about following. It always seemed like following that instinct that intuition, letting the energy guide you through rather than the mind, and the heart guide you through. So if something says no, I don't push against it. I try and go with the flow. And it was a no. And it's like, no, I can't lose that. That's my life, you know, just like Christianity was at one point. Now it's non-duality. And then I've started finding speakers where it was more like this, you know, and we could just talk and explore it with each other as on an equal playing field, not as someone who's claiming to know something and someone who doesn't know that, and I'm going to tell them what it is. Yeah, I don't sit well with that kind of thing.
Well, I've said this before, and I don't know if you know this. I've told Cormac this before. I am the authority of non-duality.
You've got what? Sorry.
You didn't even get this.
I missed it. Sorry.
I said I'm the authority of non-duality, so I give the certificates out. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. Go on, then.
I just remember that because I posted a video of all the things that we've done for Nothing Media for the past since September up to now, and then there's a blooper reel of me just laughing with everybody because you know in these interviews there's a lot of laughter. And I just compiled those laughter. I have actually one that's lasted for 30 minutes, and sometimes I put it on and I just laugh. Or it's kind of like after this apparent something that never happened happened. I watched Jim Newman and Tony Parsons because I like. Let me see if I watch that now. You know what I did? I laughed for 2 days. I was in hysterics. I was just like, any question about the me would crack me up so bad. You know, it's just I was just laughing so hard, and you know. Yeah. And now, you know what I'm saying? It's almost kind of like being in the joke, but there's no joke. I don't know if that makes sense. So when I'm hosting like Jim, when people ask questions, I'm kind of like, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't. But it's just so entertaining now. And the way that Jim, for example, just, you know, mastery of words, you know, and flips it back. And yeah, it's just really clear. But you know what? People can be clear as well. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a Jim style or a Tony style, you know, kind of like speaking. There are people that are really clear in expressing this.
Well, I can't get to grips anymore with the idea of someone being able to speak and know what this is. I don't really see people as not knowing this. And if someone asks me a question, I'm quite surprised because I just see them as knowing it already.
It's so
I don't
obvious
know until they ask.
Isn't it so obvious? Isn't it? It's like I don't think about it now, but you know, the many years of seeking, doing this meditation, doing all this different stuff, and then when this apparent happening, you know, is seen, it's the, you know, it can't be unseen, and it's just so obvious. So obvious. It's just so stunningly available, always available. It's never not available.
Absolutely. And that's why the sort of talking about it almost makes it into something, as if, you know, it's as if we're, even by talking about it, we're making it into a thing that's attainable and gettable, when really it's just life, it's just everything. It's being miserable and bored and happy and sad, and, you know, like, to talk about it almost abstracts it in a sense, because you've got to go into concepts, and concepts are abstract, and it's a much more sort of,
it's like muddying the water.
Yeah,
water is water, why muddy it, kind of thing. But you know what, to that effect though, it's kind of just this past, I've had sporadic kind of like people message me on Facebook. Today and yesterday there were about, I think, a couple of people aside from those other messages that would call me out of the blue, and I'm like, who's this person? I would answer it, and they're thanking, for nothing media for doing this, because the apparent me has dropped away from watching all of these videos. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's nice to hear that, even though
Oh God,
it's,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it is. I mean, I don't want to sound sycophantic, but I love nothing media because it's just pioneering and opening up new dimensions that, that there's not just a handful of speakers. There are people speaking about it in all different ways. And sometimes to listen to the I'm just loving all the different flavors of people.
Yeah, that's what I like too. That's why I started doing these conversations, because some people like I'm saying, you don't probably have any intention of being a speaker about this, but you would love to have a conversation about it. And that's
Yeah.
what seekers want to hear, because I wish that when I was seeking, I would be hearing something like this right now,
Mm.
and not
Yeah.
make
And you
it too
said,
mystical. Make it,
yeah, yeah, make it every day, make it normal life, because it's so normal life.
oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Walking down the street, the newness, or I was really stunned by the red light. There's a red light for the traffic light. And I'm like,
Mm,
what's that? Just this wonderment about things,
mm,
or things kind
mm,
of like appearing, or getting lost, in a street that I've known for 30 years.
mm, mm.
It's that, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
maybe it's absent-mindedness.
yeah, 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 maybe. I mean, that's the thing. And it's not that you're thinking about it, you're not living through the commentary of it. You're
Yeah.
not living, it's not dead because you're not living through the abstract ideas of it anymore, because we tend to live through, or I tended to live through my mind, and everything was a concept, and I was just living in concepts. And when they drop
Yeah.
away, you start to see things as they really are. So it's not that walk down the street going, oh, this is wonderful. It's only on reflection, really, that
Mm.
it's like, I feel sometimes walking down the street like I'm sort of walking underwater. I had experience when I was really younger. I used to love swimming, and I used to love diving to the bottom of the pool and crawling on the bottom of the pool,
Oh,
and
nice.
staying underwater for as long as I could, just really slowly, like an animal crawling underwater. And I think that reminded me of this,
Mm.
because there's a
The
sort of,
childlike wonder.
yeah, and there's always a silence, and it's a dense silence, like underwater, where
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
is blocked out. And even in the busy street, I think that's the beauty of the emptiness. There's a silence. And even when my mind's going mental, because I still have thoughts, I don't know about others, but there's definitely still thoughts here. They're just not important anymore, but they're still gone. They're sometimes quite amusing, actually.
The thoughts
But
don't become a story, and it doesn't become an event, but it doesn't become a dramatic event, or it doesn't become something that,
yeah,
like, the word stickiness is always said, but it doesn't have a hold anymore. They just fall
yeah,
away. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's like bubbles just coming in and out.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and there are, moments of just clarity, and just, I don't know how to describe it.
Mm,
It's quite difficult to, say in words. I attempt
mm,
sometimes. I don't know if,
mm,
from when someone's interviewing me, I attempt sometimes, and I still
mm,
struggle, trying to, um, how do you say in words something that cannot be described in words?
mm.
How do you, explain something that is completely unexplainable? Um, or how do you capture a picture that's uncapturable? Because the moment that you click the shutter, that's not it. There's no it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, how can you know something that's unknowable? It's just not knowable, isn't it? And that's what it means. It is, when you hear speakers say again and again, this is not knowable. that is what it is, and yet we try to know it through concepts, and the reality of the conceptual thinking drops away. It's like, you know, even when you have thoughts or story happens, it's like, oh, that's just concept, but that's just, it's concept. So
Anything that
with all,
appears as a word is just a concept.
yeah, it's all duality. All the words are
Mm-hmm.
duality. I mean, I like writing now, and I like writing poems, and I have never been into poetry in my life. In fact, probably disliked it. And they just come now. I don't write them. They just get written from nowhere. And that kind of, because it's a little bit more a play on words, it's not a usual, you know, you can't say a poem into that dictation thing, because it won't write it, because it's not logical. It'll write what it thinks you're saying. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll make it into a linear sentence, and poems are not linear, and this is not linear. It doesn't go in straight
No.
lines. So
I can relate that with, lately I've been playing piano and
oh,
just allowing it to just go, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
it just feels so wonderful. All of these notes coming from the same one. That's not making any sense. There's no separation in the notes. And I'm
yeah.
playing this piano, and I always have a piano, but for the past 4 years, I haven't played piano because I was DJing more. I was just and I got this piano, just this little keyboard, and then I think I looked at the time. I'm like, oh wow, I've been playing for 4 hours or 6 hours or something. Just kind of like, with no intention of recording it, no nothing. But I did. It's in some of the videos. Some of the opening titles is my own piano playing. It's
Oh,
just,
that's
yeah.
lovely. I didn't know that. That's lovely. I'll have to listen to that.
Some of
You
them.
should
Some of them.
post some more of it, Anson. Because it is
Oh
lovely to hear people's creativity with
yeah.
this and
Yeah.
see.
The
Yeah.
creativity is just, for example, when this nothing conference started, I started doing graphics. I'm not really, professional in doing graphics or editing videos. I have no idea how to edit videos. I just winged it, and it's just coming out. And some of them are very very not the best, kind of editing, but to me it's good. It's
Yeah.
just an expression of what is, right? It's just an
Yeah.
expressing. And
And I can't believe you're saying that, because the whole nothing thing and the whole website and the videos that you do, they look so professional. I
oh,
thought
thank you.
you were
We have
like
a team.
oh,
It's not just me.
yeah,
There's Noel, there's Julie, there's Harry, and there's a
yeah,
couple of people that helps it. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just a pretty face that appears in videos.
You are that. But creativity, I know what you mean about being, one with the sound of the music, because poetry or writing about non-duality is my best times, really. Whatever this is amplified in that. There's just something magical about it. It's like I get, it's like sometimes I want a break from it, because the ideas are just coming so fast, and it's like they've got to be written down, and I want to see the finished article and read it, because it's like I've never written it or read it. It's like I'm hearing it for the first time. Almost like channeling, I suppose. I've heard people talk about channeling. I don't know much about that, but it just sounds a bit, it just feel a bit like that. It feels
That there's
like,
no doer. Yeah, there's no doer. No one doing it.
yeah, there is just the paper and the pen and the words. And in this poetry, it's just an attempt to, I think it's the attempt to describe and speak about this that is so beautiful. It sort of amplifies.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I understand now sometimes, like I was hosting Tony's retreat, right? And he repeats things the same thing over and over again. And I'm
Mm,
like, well, it can't be explained better than that, because it's just so
mm,
simple. When he says
mm.
nothing is happening, that is.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and people probably listening to this are kind of like, it's so hard to explain when you say nothing is happening, but that's just a complete statement, and that's everything. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah,
If people stick with nothing is happening, then that's it.
absolutely. Yeah,
But no one can stick to it because you know what yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to put Tony, Jim, and the people that have come out of Tony's sort of way of speaking on a pedestal, but for me, that's just what I needed. I needed that boot camp. I needed to, you know, I live in York, but he's in London, but I'd go every month to his meetings for about a year. And just to be there in that energy. And when I met Jim as well, you know, like, it's just, they will not allow the person in the room. It's like the person's kicked out at the door. And I think they're the only talks really that happens. And then it creates such a space that you just fall into. That's how it felt for me. It's almost like life was screaming at me in those times. It was screaming, this is all there is nothing. And finally it hit home, you know, finally cracked open.
I got a lot of feedback from the Tony retreat because we did a 2-day retreat, and it's like, I think it's like 6 hours of Tony every day. So it's like 12 hours of Tony. Yeah. So people messaged me and saying that, what was that? They felt that the me was completely challenged. So there was a lot of dropping. There's a lot of death. It's like a murder scene at the, you know, when
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like an accomplice sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't help that, did you, Emerson? You just let them get killed.
That's what I mean, you know. It's like, you know, you're an accomplice of something because you're allowing it. You're like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah,
you can't stop it, right? Because they're like, oh,
you're an enabler.
I'm an enabler. Yeah. That's what it is. And it's
lovely as well, isn't it? Seeing that, especially when you go to the live Tony meetings and there's people really trying to prove a point or something and getting shot down.
Yeah. They'll keep us.
But there's something beautiful about it.
They'll say, I know you're saying that there's no me, but.
Yeah. They go around all different avenues.
I know you're saying that nothing
is like chainsaw, just chopping.
I know.
Yeah.
I know you're saying that nothing is happening, but. And so what you're saying is.
It was so entertaining. I used to love it when you get a character there that was just really intellectually going for it, you know, with their philosophies and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I love that. I mean, I can't really listen to Tony or Jim anymore. It's sad, really, but I just can't, because the concept seems so simple now. It's how did I listen to that for, you know, a whole year, you know, and
well, you know what? You're lucky because some people listen to it for 20 years. You know, Rose, right? Rose Marin?
Yeah, she's lovely, yeah.
She did 20 years of going to Tony's. Oh, God. 20 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to her, and for me, it was more like I was into Advaita Vedanta. I was listening to more the religious, spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how I saw Richard Sylvester's book called I Hope You Die Soon. And then I thought about it. I'm like, who's this Tony Parsons then? So if Tony Parsons is Jim Newman, Richard Sylvester, Kenneth Madden, he must be a top tier thing. You know what I'm saying? He has a lot of results.
Man.
And then when I met him, he basically said, he's like, I'm not there's nothing special here, Emerson. I'm like, I know.
Bowing at his feet.
No, it was not bowing. It's just, I just.
It's just the way you said that. I know.
It's like, to me, he's like a grandpa. You know what I'm saying? That's sweet. He's a sweet guy. When I call him, he's like, hi, fella. Are you still wearing a
Yeah,
hat? He jokes around with me too.
yeah. I know he's lovely. I've called him a few times, and he's very. It's nice to speak to him personally because he's not as generic when you phone him up one to one.
Yeah,
That's what I found. You know, it's very easy
very
to
easy,
talk
very
to him.
easy.
I never speak to him long though. He only says on the phone 5-10 minutes, but it's all I need. You
He
know,
probably
or
gets a
it's
lot of
all I
phone
need.
calls. I talked
Yeah,
to him longer because of the retreat, probably, and we chit
yeah,
chatted a bit. But
yeah.
yeah,
And
um,
you're working with him, and I was still seeking then as well. So there was particular things that I'd rung up about, so it wasn't really essential to stay on the phone for
so
long.
Tony, you're saying that there's no me, but how come?
Yeah.
Any other aside from the Tony group? Any other kind of like speakers that you liked that you resonated with,
I like
or
them all in
any
their own,
videos that you liked, that you've seen
now or in the
now?
past.
Now, yeah, now.
Oh, now, oh God, I just love everyone at the moment. I just can't, because now it's kind of like, I think first it was just all about emptiness,
Mm.
and I just couldn't watch anything except Netflix. Uh, and now it's just, it's just how I just love how they're going to express it in their own way, like a lot of the people that you've got on yours now, because I was looking for people that I was looking for something after this whatever happened that didn't happen, and I didn't know what it was. I thought there must be people out there, you know, that are not seeking anymore, and that they just landed here, wherever here is. And how are they talking about it if they're not a speaker or they're not going to do questions and answers? How are people relating with this? That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just relate. Let's get in there and get involved and share it together. And so, I go to Zooms with Art, who there's just a load of us just chat and jump in, and it's just so expressive and lovely. I've been listening to loads of people on yours. I haven't got a very good memory, so the last one I listened to, I think, was Joan Tollefson. I
Yeah, she's great.
really liked her. I listened to Shiv, I think, because you mentioned him.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anybody that I wouldn't like, unless they are very strong opinions about something, or
Yeah,
they're always talking someone down, or you know, sort of, I don't know, something like that. I just like the sort of freedom. It's the flow and the energy of someone I'm interested in.
thank you for yeah. There's so many great people that I've spoken to,
Yeah.
and it's just really fun. It's just a really passionate thing that we do. There's just a lot of passion about this. Like I can do this all day. Oh wow, we're almost an hour here now. See, that's what I mean. I don't even know.
I know. I could just go, when I'm talking to you as well, certain people, I just can't stop talking about this.
Oh, and thank you for that. Was so flattering what you wrote about me for the video. Thank you for that.
What did I write? Where?
Oh, the one that you wrote about you posted a video of me speaking, being
Oh, right.
interviewed. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I'm just finding, I didn't know that we existed, people who are not speakers, just talking about this in a day-to-day way, not having to talk about whether it's a me or a no me. I'm bored of all that. So, it's just that, really, just finding people and speaking to people on the phone, making friends in this as well is really
That's
important to me.
that's what I did with Noel, right? Because I needed to talk to somebody that I can talk to and say that, hey, this is the apparent happening, kind of thing, and just to be able to share that, because I think I called up one of my best friends, and he was kind of like, I talked maybe for about an hour and a half, just kind of telling him like, there's nothing happening and all this stuff, and I was
Mm.
just just, he's really patient with me. So he let me speak for an hour and a half. And at the end of it, I'm like, it's like, I'm so happy that you found, your spirituality again, Emerson. I'm like, did you not hear what I said? But I just let it go. It's almost like you have to shout it to the mountaintops, but there's no one.
Yeah.
It's very isolating. It's very isolating in the beginning. Like you're like, because everything seems normal and or extraordinarily ordinary, but you don't know who to share it with.
Yes, exactly.
You don't know who to talk to it. And I think that's one of the reason that I, in the beginning, before Nothing Media, I had radical non-duality talks. And the first person that I talked to was Andreas.
Yeah.
Because and I was like, okay, he speaks my language. This is this is clear. Kind of like clear communication. Then I talked to Rebecca Maroon.
Oh, I love Rebecca. Yeah.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
She's great.
I love her honesty and her naturalness, She's so easy to listen to. And authentic. I think I'm looking for that authentic, whatever that is. I like people who are honest and authentic with this. And it's nice to have people who are coming from that place of nothing, but they can have an ordinary conversation, rather than, it's different than when you're talking to people who really believe in their stories, and that's fine too. I don't, I just love talking to people now, which is a totally new thing for me because I've never been that good with people, really. I'm a bit of a loner, a bit of an introvert, and I'm just kind of coming out and wanting to play. I want to play. I want to speak. Talk,
Good. Let's do this some more. I'm going to pause this, but thank you so much, Anne. That was fun. It's just good to have a conversation about this. When I wanted to, when releasing a lot of the interviews, I'm like, I would like just to have conversations with people about this that can just like what we're doing, and so that other people can hear that it's nothing special.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it was only when I started having conversations normally that it became integrated almost, and I wasn't then just living in the new concepts of no me or me. All that drops, it was all that. Just how can I talk about this in normal language without using jargon?
Totally. Well, I totally understand, speakers that speaks in a very specific way. If I was a speaker, I would probably speak in a very specific way, like, because it's to although there's no agenda, but the purpose of the messaging is an unknowing, right? To kind of like let go. So the moment that the me gets fed, then the me just wants to, it goes in a completely odd direction kind of thing, right? So starving the me kind of like just chopping the head off. If I was a speaker, that's what I would do too, probably. But
me too. I mean, I think they're essential, the speakers. I don't know how they do it. I'd get totally bored with it, but they're so essential to have that me starved, and to get out of the habit of just, because it's such a big habit to think as a person and behave as a person. You've been so brainwashed into it all our lives, years and years of it. So, to have periods of time where that is not acceptable, that is not the norm. That is not normal to be like that.
That's right,
That's refreshing, because it's not normal. It's total insanity, actually.
It is. I was just talking to somebody that said that we are all a bit insane.
Yeah.
So
I think Jim Newman sometimes says we're schizophrenic or something. He uses the word that dramatic, really. And it felt like insanity. I felt insane all my life.
This is almost like you well, there's no one to get out of the psychiatric but I don't know what I'm talking about. But I want to thank you. Let's do this again soon. Have a happy new year. I'll just pause this right now so we can talk some more.